Hi everybody, my name is Mihaela Stroe and you are very welcome to a very special webinar called Presenting and Communicating for Maximum Impact. I am a sociologist as profession and also I am an international speaker and trainer. And today I have the privilege to have with me a very special friend, Mru Patel. Welcome, Mru.
Thank you, Mihaela. Great to be here with you.
It is an honor for me to have this special interview with you, Mru, because you have a great experience in presenting and delivering speeches for international audiences. And lately, I have received a lot of questions from the readers of my blog, mihaelastroe.com, and they were asking and putting questions like this. I am afraid when I'm in front of a group and I'm filled with fear and anxiety when I need to address them. Or another question, in the last weeks I lost a very important job because the way I presented myself to the job interview. Or another issue put in front is that I need to communicate with impact during my speeches because I'm a speaker and I need to impress the audiences. So Mru, tell us from your experience, where do presentation skills matter?
Thank you, Mihaela. So let me just give you a brief about myself. I'm an international public speaker with over 3 decades of experience, having lived and worked around the world, 4 continents. So I've been to a lot of places, not only as a visitor, but worked there. So I've spoken to people with different cultures, backgrounds, and things like that, which is very important. So in answer to some of your questions, fear and anxiety is kind of like one of the biggest worries after death that people have. Statistics have shown that people are more scared of doing public speaking than dying. So public speaking is an art and a skill if you want to get it absolutely spot on and really right and connect to your audience. And the fear and anxiety, your first question to your audience, generally fear and anxiety stems from a number of things, okay? It stems from what I call insecurity in a number of areas that you personally have. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, if you're not confident in your material, what you're presenting, if you haven't done the preparations well, and if you haven't even done what I call the 4 Ps, which I will teach you when you join our course, the 4 Ps of presentation, and if you don't come across as an authority, the fear sets in, thinking, what will he think about me, or what will she talk about me? I will lose my reputation. What will my friends say? What will my family say? Will I get the job next time? Will I get the deal? So all these set in because you haven't done the right things before appearing in front of an audience or in front of a board meeting or something like that. So that's where fear really stems from, okay? And in terms of where presentation skills actually matter, and I will cover some of the fear things in a minute, again in a little bit more detail as a value add to your audience over here as well. In my view, presentation skills is absolutely relevant no matter where you are. Any form of communication with any other person, you need presentation skills, because whether you're at an interview, you need to turn up well, you need to have the right body language, the right posture, the talking verbally plus the non-verbal, rather than just sitting like this and having a presentation or something. It sends the wrong signals. So in interviews, in public speaking, in board meetings, in any form of speeches, you could be in a corporate meeting, you could be in a one-to-one review with your manager. Hell, it could even be when you're dating someone. Okay, presentation skills matter on how you turn up and the words you give and the visual you give is very, very important. So it's in everything, right the way through to what I say, even when you are talking to your kids, okay? So these presentation skills matter not only in words, but also in the nonverbal side of the communication. And I know, Mihaela, you're an expert on on this subject. So what I was going to say is, we'll save it for our seminar for people to know. But simple things. When people talk like this and then want to engage you and then get you excited and there's no energy in you and no passion in you, why the hell should someone listen to you? So it's based on voice, it's body language, shrugged shoulders, no eye contact, no passion in your subject matter. All of these things matter. The other place where it matters is a tip for me is, when you're doing slides and things like that, just imagine that, the audience out there, only 10% of what is presented out there is actually read. Then 20% of what they hear is what gets registered. 30% is actually absorbed what they see. So visual is 30%. All right? Then 50% of what is actually taken is what they see and what they hear. So 50% is visual and what they hear. And then if you want results, which is what I believe in, it's no point doing any communications without an end goal. You have to see and you discuss and you take action. So your call to action in any presentation is very key. You must have a strategy for that. And that's the key tips that I have in terms of key elements, of how to do that. The other thing you mentioned is, let me come back to this fear and anxiety and the 4 Ps or even the 5 Ps that I have, just as a little of your listeners over here and viewers. I have a model and a system on how to do that. So first of all is the who, what, where, and how, okay? i.e. your audience. If you have that prepared, who is in the audience, what do they want to know, where are you actually sitting and listening and learning, why are they actually there, what's in it for them, and how do you present really matters. So all this in a system, once you've targeted the audience, you're going to look at, the proper preparation prevents presentation predicaments. That's my 5 Ps. I'll say it again. The proper preparation prevents presentation predicaments. What do I mean by that? It means that, if you've prepared properly, it avoids you from falling down a hole and sinking or going all flustered and your hands get sweaty, you start sweating and you wonder, what will he say, what will she say? You lose the audience, you lose the connection and things like that, if it makes sense, okay? And what I said about, from my previous statement about, more than 70% is what we see and hear is digested. You must have an end goal. What do I want? Who to do what? When, where, and why? If you address that in any presentation, what you want people to do, when, where, and how, then the interest is there. Like on this webinar, Mihaela, our intention, and let's be absolutely honest, is to help people in places like Romania, where English is not a common, well-spoken daily language. Yet, if someone wants to be in business, in an international global organization, or in any form of progress, the communication in English is absolutely key. Because if you go on the internet, right the way through to day-to-day conversations when you're doing board presentations or public speaking, to a foreign investor or a foreign startup venture capitalist or a foreign buyer or a seller, you have to interact with them, whether you're selling your goods and services or whether you're buying. All this is presentation and communication skills. So what we are trying to do over here is to teach people how to get really confident in making those presentations or communications 100% really, really effective and productive so they get the right results. My biggest shame, especially in Romania, is that I see so many people, so many companies, so many product and services suppliers, because they can't present themselves well, they get, dare I say, kind of like raped in the system because they don't know how to pitch properly. And in English, before they even start, they say, oh, excuse my English and I can't speak properly. And they've lost the battle immediately when they do that because they're on the back foot. The state of mind is not right. So presentation skills is also about state of mind. So if you go positive and you are really confident in your material, carry on. You know, of course you will make one or two grammar mistakes. Of course you'll make one or two slip-ups on terminology. But if your preparation and all that proper research is done and your presentation is rehearsed, then you will achieve what you want. Okay? So I hope that answers two of the main questions. Mihaela, I forgot the third question. It was about impact, correct, Mihaela?
Correct, because I totally agree with you what you said until now.
Okay.
And the main struggle that I see in business world, either in corporations or in people that want to go global, is that they are not ready or they don't know how to create impact when they are presenting or when they are holding their speeches. And I connect impact, if you agree with me, with having personal presence. What is your opinion on this?
Yeah, absolutely correct. You know, and impact is made up of presence as well as a number of things. Okay, impact, in my view, and I have a whole system for that, how to create an impact when you have either a public speaking session or a seminar, a workshop, board meeting, an interview, etc. Each one of these has different ways of creating impact. Let me give you an example, okay? So if you are going to an interview and you start by saying, hello, my name is Mru Patel and I'm an entrepreneur. Just that initial tagline has lost it because the impact is not there. I'm an entrepreneur or I'm an entrepreneur and I'm Mru Patel. How boring. No impact, right? Rather than, hi, my name is Mru Patel. I'm one of the top leading serial entrepreneurs around the world and a best-selling author published across the world, having lived and worked in 4 continents. It's a different message, different vibe, it's a different tagline, it's a different impact. Let me take you to a presentation in a public speaking scenario. You know, and one phrase really comes to mind when I look at this is, I don't know if you know Steve Martin, Mihaela. Have you heard of Steve Martin? He was a big comedian. Yes. Anyway, he always says, whenever you're in front of the cameras, be so good that they can't ignore you. So what he means by that, and a lot of people, you know, talk about presence, and I'm very big into this presence. You know, when you enter, you don't walk like this and, yeah, hello, my name is. Yeah, there's no presence. You know, you have to stand tall. You have to look confident. You got to look in the eye. You got to upright. You got to have a lot of hand vision, hand and eye vision and coordination with the audience. You don't spray. This is called spraying, by the way. You know, focus on 1 or 2 people. Give them a couple of seconds so you feel like you're connecting. You know, that creates an impact. Like, who he cares about me? Or ask an audience immediately what do they want, how they want it, get them involved. To create impact, you need to be, you know, quite a lot of these things, right? And then when you use your visuals, the use of color is very important. Your colors in your slides need to portray what you are selling or promoting or talking about. You know, if you use the blacks and the grays, it means dull or sharp, okay? If you use the oranges and the blue, it's the warmth, it's the trust, it's the loyalty, dependency, those sorts of things. So colors matter. And we'll talk a lot about this in our seminars on how to get it absolutely right. Because majority of people don't know how to make presentation slides very fast because they think it's a nightmare and hard work and all that. But once you have a template and a system, it's so easy, which, you know, I will teach at our next workshops. So the way I look at impact is, again, just to summarize, is, you know, if you focus on 80% of why people are there to listen to you rather than why should they listen to you. So always put yourself on the audience's place. You know, like your audience over here, based on your questions, want to know or learn how to address those issues in various scenarios, right? So the way we have to present is these are some of the things you need to do to create impact or to get rid of fear or to get rid of anxiety and things like my 5 Ps that I talked about, and like my preparations and research and things like that. Okay, so you have to give value on what they want to hear, right? And then focus 20% on the how, rather than all that. A smile never goes amiss. A smile never goes amiss. If you're going like this and then making a presentation like this, no one is bothered about listening to you because there's no passion, there's no energy. I mean, these are people don't want to connect to. These are people that they would rather not associate themselves to, let alone learn from. So very important to create impact, to have the tone, the eye, the body language, the stature, the presence, all of that come in what I call a holistic balance in what you are trying to communicate. Does that give you enough there, Mihaela?
Yes, I'm very happy that you pointed out so many ways of speaking non-verbally during presenting a speech or presenting a proposal, because we can talk, it's not only when you are in front of an audience, even if you are presenting a business proposition, it's the same like presenting in front of 1,000 or 10,000 people. I would add something regarding nonverbals when you are focused to deliver impact. For example, I see from my experience with public speaking, I see people that they don't know how to own the space when they are presenting on a stage, for example, or they don't know how to use the silence, or how to stand with their feet, planted on the stage. So all these little details that they are very small when we are talking about nonverbal communication, they are very strong points to use them during presentations or during public speaking. And I know, Mru, that you have an extensive experience with public speaking in front of large audiences. Please share with me and with our audience some of the top tips and tricks that you used in the last 30 years for your own impact on the stage.
Okay, I mean, here's something that I really believe in terms of impact. The first 5 or 10 seconds of your presentation, meaning from the minute you stand up, appear at the podium or the microphone, is judged. Okay, that first 10 seconds is very, very important. Then, so that's visual first, all right? So if you're not suited well, or if your tie is hanging short, or if your shirt is sticking out and your shoes are undone, visual things. So the first is visual, right? If you lost it in the visual, you've lost almost, as I say, 50% of the audience, all right? So the visual needs to be absolutely spot on, all right? And by visual, I mean not only how you dress and appear, but the way you walk and the way you stand. So your presence. If you're standing sloppy shoulders and like this and timid, that shows someone who is not in command, someone who's not prepared, and someone who's definitely not confident, let alone be an authority, okay? So why the hell should someone listen to you? Then the next things I focus on in terms of presentation is I try and avoid reading slides word by word, all right? If you wanted to do that, you might as well put the slide on autopilot and let the people read it themselves, okay? So slides are there only for people who generally cannot follow you very fast in your talk, or as a memory point, as a visual, as a bullet point, just for as a visual, or a pictorial thing as a visual. So it's not for you to sit there and read. And And I've seen hundreds and thousands of really good presenters go like this. And then we should do this. And for you to achieve this, you will have to do this, that, and the other, and then you have to do that. And I see that everywhere, and it makes me cringe, okay? And I mean even top ministers. So our training course and webinar is not only for entrepreneurs, middle management in corporates, but it's also for people in the government, because they really need to go global, because they are always out and about talking to other countries, other ministers who come, and believe me, I've seen a lot of them, especially in this country, who don't know how to communicate, and certainly don't know how to communicate with an impact. Okay, that starts right from their first 10-15 seconds, like I gave you my example. They don't know how to do that introduction. So if the introduction is right in public speaking or in your first handshake, that's what I mean by impact in the first 10-15 seconds. Because if you've got that wrong, the chances of getting the attention of the other person, it will go like this, it'll come down, and then if you're very good, you'll recover it again. But in that time window, why lose all that when you can start like this and carry on going like that? All right?
All right.
Was that helpful?
It's extraordinary, because I was studying in my PhD paper the importance of the first impressions, and I know that the way you present yourself in the first 3 or 4 seconds, it has such importance to the audience, because they form an impression about you, and they stick with that impression for the rest of your presentation. So if you lose them in those few seconds when you start your speaking moment, then you lose them for the rest of the presentation. So it's very important what you said, and I really appreciate the sharing with us. Also, Mru, please, from your experience, if you remember some example of public speaking scenario from your real life that, for example, is memorable in your mind, and if you want to share it with us, please.
I've got hundreds of these.
Please, at least one, because we will organize more webinars so we can have time to share more.
Okay, let me give you a real classic that that I'll probably remember till the day I die. Okay, I've got hundreds of these, but let me. This one jumps in my mind. That's why I'll tell you now, right? So I was on the board of the UK Scotland Yard, and I was also on the board of the strategy for the UK's criminal justice and public safety, for helping them do their strategy for basically how to catch criminals, really. Okay, and I was in a blue chip company in Sun Microsystems and Siemens as well, so I've worked in those major blue chip companies. And when I was advising them, I was invited to a speech in front of 300 of the top chief constables from around the world. Okay, the top chief constables around the world, 300 of them, and then on the back seats they had their subordinates, and God knows how many they were, right? But in the front, that's all that mattered to me. The back were like another 300-400 people, but the front 300 is who I was speaking to or with. And just before me was a speaker from New York. So he was the chief in New York for the fire and ambulance, and he was the guy in charge of the event when 9/11 happened, if you remember it, and everyone remembers 9/11. Okay, so he was talking about how important is communication in this modern day and age, and he was actually playing recordings of people screaming and shouting and filled with fear and anxiety all over the place, saying, "I'm gonna die, help me, can you hear me, send an ambulance, my hand is cut off, this has happened," and people crying and screaming. And he was showing these recordings because they came from the not from the mobile, but from the radio communications that they had. because the mobile network was pretty much paralyzed, okay? And you know what? I was the speaker after him, and I was in tears listening to some of this stuff. And I was following this guy. And his ending was, you know, how communication is so important in this modern day and age, to have a backup plan and another backup plan in case things fail, right? To save lives, basically. And my speech was about integrated communications across all the police forces around the world. And this was my passion thing 15 years ago, because, you know, the criminal is the same person around the world. He can move from one bounty to another, and he's another person. You know, even if you look in Romania, you move from one county to the other, the police force will not know it's this same guy. He'll be treated as another guy in his own comuna, right? And he moves to another comuna, he's another new man. He's got like a refreshed passport and license to go and do whatever he wants, right? So my vision was to do this worldwide. And with tears in my eyes, I'm quickly rubbing this thing off, and I got back to my 5 Ps, you know, the preparation. If you know the audience, you know what they want, make sure there's no predicaments, and you've got to focus on what you're going to do. And I have this power exercise I will share with you on the workshop as well, which I do before I go on stage, and that gets me so pumped up. And that's one of my secrets. I will show you how to do that as well at the seminar. I did my power exercise. I went up there, wiped off the tears, and I was pumping. And my first 5 seconds, I just nailed it. And I just said, thank you for a great speech, eye-opening thing. So I gave him credit. So I related to the previous audience, the previous speaker. And then I created a hook. And I said, and I'm going to extend to that why communication across the globe is more important rather than just in New York. So I connected the hook and took it to another scale. And now I got their attention straight away. They're thinking, oh God, they're worried about New York 9/11, communication problem. What the hell is this guy talking about the global level? And then I brought the whole subject of how the criminal actually was communicating around the world before he appeared on 9/11 in New York. So I said, if your communications and the listening and all this was talking to each other and listening, which does happen, by the way, and I shouldn't say it because I've signed an official Secrets Act. So when this happens at a global scale, then the chances of success is much better. So that's how I turned a negative or a sad situation into a positive and moved the conference and exhibition forward. Otherwise, everyone in the audience was like half in tears, just like myself. So my job was there to pump it all up again and bring it back on track. Does that give you a good example?
It's a great example, because what you, besides the hook that you created in order to attract their attention and carry on, you necessary in before every moment of presenting. You put yourself in the positive state of mind, which made the difference what I believe in your presentation after this very impressive guy. Otherwise, I believe if you were gone there on the stage, oh my God, what do I do? You know?
Yeah, how do I follow this one? Yeah. Because that's what more people get scared about. Oh shit, how do I follow this guy now? You know?
Yes. Yes, and it's great. It's a great example, because it will help. It actually happened to me last week in Sibiu, when I was a speaker on a conference. The director of the theater in Sibiu, a huge personality and actor, came, and he was the first to open the conference, and then I was the second person to present after him. He got the room. The room was, you know, fell in love with him, and then I took the energy that he left. He lifted the audience up, and I put it my presentation at the same level of energy, because otherwise, you know, he set up a very high standard of the presenters. So I said, I thank him. I said, I thank him for setting these high standards. And for me, it was an honor to speak after him and to share my experience. So I totally agree with you. And now I have another question, Mru, because
Yeah, before your question, can I just add to that a little bit, Mihaela? Because Mihaela, in that example, someone already set your standards and you could reciprocate and you could follow on. However, again, coming back to that fear and anxiety, if someone is not confident in themselves, they don't believe in themselves, they haven't done the research, they haven't done the preparation, and they are not absolutely 100% pumped up in their material and knowing the material, if they followed a person like that, they would panic, they would sweat, they would forget their words, they would forget most of the things, and the whole presentation or interview or a board presentation or whatever it is would be a disaster if you were following someone like that.
Yes, and you mentioned something very important that I want to point out, Mru, in your description earlier. You said that you were talking about something that you were passionate about.
Yes.
The subject. Yes. That you presented.
Yes.
This is my recommendation as well. When you present something that you really believe in, that is your passion, the audience will feel the enthusiasm, will feel that you are focused on that subject, and you will transmit the same energy to them. And that's why speaking with passion and about what you like is very important. And this comes in my mind to the next question that we teach people, Mru, how to improve or how to stretch their capacity to present. Because some people that come to my coaching programs or to my webinars, they say, oh, you have more than 13 years of experience, it's easy for you to speak. I believe that everybody can increase their level of presenting. And how can people do that? What is your opinion about this?
Yeah, very important. I mean, I could speak when I was young, okay? So I think a lot of it's to do with, first of all, finding a need that you really want to do this, or you are doing it because you have to do it, okay?
Yeah.
You have to address that first. Are you doing it because you really want to do it? And it's a need rather than a want, okay? If it's just a need, you will do the basics. If you really want to do it, you will go the extra mile. And second thing I'm going to say is, I've got hundreds of people doing this thing, and I've seen huge transformations. And the way I do it is, the only way it works is through a step-by-step workshop. It's a 2-day solid workshop. And I think, without stealing your thunder, Mihaela, I know we are going to offer something at the end of this for the 3-hour. But I do a 2-day workshop, and I do everything from the beginning of branding and taglining right the way through to video sessions, reviews, group reviews, presentation formats, preparation, standing, vocals, and I do it with exercises. All right, so it's not just me standing up there and talking and preaching to everybody. I do it where it's a working scenario. So I give examples, I talk about a subject, and then people take that and create their own scenario. Now, one thing is for sure, I can teach people to be passionate and full of energy and all of that, but that doesn't come just from a workshop, okay? And I do one thing for sure, is a state of mind personal transformation, quick half-an-hour session before the workshop, because if your state of mind is not right and you haven't pumped yourself up with getting rid of some of your baggage, then some of it will come out in your presentation, yeah? Unless you're very good, and like me, I've managed to find ways and tricks and tips that help me to manage my daily stresses, so I don't show it. And I have this thing, you should be like a swan, lebeda, no? You stay like a lebeda, you look nice and beautiful underneath, but underneath it's like this, you look beautiful on top of the water. So you need to know how to do that, And a good way of thinking it, I have a phrase in my mind: when you're in front of the audience, just think you're like an actor, Once you're like an actor, that is half the game. You know that you've got to act and behave and talk and facials and all these things matter. So coming back to this, how you do it, the only way is practice, 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 but be taught by the right person. There are loads of people who are teaching public speaking, and believe me, I've seen some of these guys, and they've been taught by themselves, or they've been to 1 or 2 seminars and done a few public speaking events, and they think they are the experts. But you know, I've been trained and taught and spoken, as I said, for 3 decades around the world by some of the biggest guys in the industry, and having seen different formats, styles, voice, presentation techniques, you know, I have my own what I call blueprint of what works. So I tune that blueprint for every attendee in the workshop, because you know, everyone cannot be the same. You know, some people have different personalities, different characters, so you've got to tune it to match their personality and character, and also based on their profession, what they're trying to do, because you don't want a really pumped up person like this who is a surgeon, you know, or something like that, right? So you've got to match the styles with the profession they're in. Does that help you?
It's very helpful, because my last question was about how we can develop a unique style and presence, and you basically answered to my last question, because as you said, every one of us, we have our own style.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you have your own style, you have your own colors, you have your own presence, you have your own impact statements, you have your own language, you have your own non-verbal body movements, you know. So you got to take all of that into account, and then you know, talk to professionals like myself and yourself to say, right, this is what I'm like, this is my job or my vision or my mission or what I want to do. How should I present myself in these scenarios? And that's the tailoring that we do in the workshops, because that cannot be taught on a webinar, because it's a lot of body movement, practice, videos, playbacks, things like that. Yep.
Yes, I totally agree with you. It's very important to practice. And because you mentioned all the famous people that you participated in their trainings and workshops, I can share with you and our audience what my mentor, Joe Navarro, who worked for the FBI 25 years, taught me. Always, when you are doing a presentation in front of an audience, repeat the content and the messages that you wanted to send to the audience at least for 15 times in front of the mirror. Why? Because in order to integrate all the messages, all the subtleties of the communication, you need to repeat it and to rehearse it. So whenever I train or I prepare somebody who wants to be a public speaker or wants to present himself in an interview or in a competition, I recommend always to repeat and repeat the content, because the body will reflect what you rehearsed. And if you don't rehearse, Mru, you don't have anything inside, right?
Well, yes, because that's when, if something goes wrong, that's when panic sets in, the fear levels go up, the anxiety goes up, and then you are totally caught off foot, and it's very evident that the person does not know their material and does not command any authority for the audience to even listen to. I talk about this quite a lot in my book. I think you've seen this, my G-Spot to Success series, on how to fast track your business to success. You know, I had to practice saying that so many times before I got it. And then the content that I've written in there as well, how to present it to people, especially the needs and the problems that are trying to address people who want to achieve success in their life. You know, I had to ask those questions really deeply, that, you know, is this the kind of questions people really want answering? And I played it back in my own mind and my own brain before I even showed it to some, you know, target audience, to say, is this the kind of issues you have? or tell me what issues you have and see if they matched mine, you know. So that practice bit is very important in any form of communication. And I've given you a thing where it's not even presentation, it's just communicating with your audience for a book, you know. So presentation skills matter everywhere. Uh, and I think one thing we need to cover as well is this practice and workshop way of doing it in front of audiences in a controlled environment. In front of the mirror, Mihaela, is fine, but people in front of audiences freeze. Yeah.
Yes, it's a normal way to react.
So it's good to do it. It's good to do it in front of audiences, you know, and that's why we run this workshops. And I think we are going to be the only ones doing this with proper international English speaking presentation styles, formats. And believe me, I've been taught by the Dale Carnegies, Robin Sharmas, Tony Robbins, Scott McNeely's, Larry Ellison's. I've been with these people, you know, so many big people, and I've been on stage with a lot of people. So it's like taking the best from various places into a workshop in English speaking, communicating and presenting with impact workshop. And people will get a lot of value by attending this. You know, they'll learn what presenting for maximum impact really means. They will learn what public speaking examples will be. I have a whole set of videos I show. We will show them with yourself, you know, verbal communication and how to do verbal communication by play acting. And I look forward to that play acting part with yourself, Mihaela. And then all the preparation, the structures, the formats, all of these things that we are going to put together in these practical exercises, you know, we want to add value to people's lives here and how to progress, because, you know, I really believe that Romanians have a lot of talent, but because of that presenting in English is not really sharp, they kind of like lose it a little bit, and they sell themselves a lot shorter than what they could in real terms.
So I encourage everybody who is listening to our video today, special webinar that we have together here, Mru, to stay together with us, with either on my blog mihaelastroe.com, either on your blog mrupatel.com, or to stay with us, putting their email and being part of this wonderful campaign that we have started together, that we put our time and our experience together, how to teach people to become global players. And besides this special webinar that we have done right now, for sure we will organize other very interesting webinars with great content for people to follow. And for sure we will announce shortly our next events together that for sure will be very helpful for every person. Does not matter if it's a business person or it's working in a corporation or it's a coach. They will have the chance to increase their presenting and communication skills with maximum impact at global level, and this is unique in Romania, as you know.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. And I look forward to our next webinar, Mihaela.
Same here, and we will announce it very soon. So thank you, Mru, for sharing this great content with me and learning so much from you and from your experience. And I'm looking forward to our next event as soon as possible. So thank you, and talk more soon.
Most welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.